Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Dulce and Canella Second Life Adventures. So today on the channel I wanted to speak with you about being prepared for winter, especially with your car when you're traveling. So a couple weeks ago there was a situation where we had terrible snowstorms come through the Midwest of the United States of America. And usually storms this bad don't come through so early. It's actually a few weeks early for, the way the weather works around here. Um, it brought a lot of snow with it. Some areas were hit harder with snow than others. We didn't get a lot of snow, but we did get this bitter cold temperature of -13 degrees. Other places, some people have told me where they live, it was like -25. So, those are brutal, life endangering circumstances. And so if you're stuck in a car, you know, you need to know how to survive and be prepared with the right tools. So I grew up in the Midwest and kind of in a rural area. Like I live in a city, but to the next city, it's just nothing but farmhouses and cornfields. So, we were always taught to be prepared in case maybe you slid off the road, you know, and it's no telling. This was before the days that people had cell phones. And so you would have to wait for someone to see you, and then maybe they would stop to pick you up, or, they would go to the nearest place and like the nearest truck stop and say, "Hey, I saw a car off the road. Can you call the police and have them check it out?" So it could be a few hours before rescue would come. So one story that really caught my attention, and I'm sure it caught the attention of most people, was about this beautiful young woman, um, Andell Taylor. And that's her right there. And you could just see she's youthful. I think she was 22, 23 at the time. And, you know, this is her sister's TikTok page. And, she's kind of showing her video here. And look at that. So much energy, personality, And again, she was a nurse. And so, it's things like this that, you know, we want to avoid. We don't want people losing family members, and losing their life because they simply weren't prepared or the city wasn't prepared for what happened. Again, like I said, it was kind of early in the season for such a snowfall. But what can you do personally to help yourself survive until help can get to you? And so I went ahead and looked up some things, and even though I have my own list, I wanted to go to a reliable source, an expert, to, you know, agree with my list, I'll say. And so here's what AAA recommends. So first thing, a cell phone and car charger. And they even tell you where you should keep it. They said glove compartment. I keep it in that thing. What's that thing? The center console, I guess you can call it, where it lifts up. It's where I keep mine. And I have a little plug in there too. I actually have a dedicated car charger. I just keep it in there because, I got tired of the, transferring my charger from the house to the car. You know, it sucks when you forget your charger, and it sucks when, you're in the house ready for bed and you're like, "Ooh, let me charge my phone." But it's the charger is outside in the car. So I have a charger in the house and one in the car. All right, the next thing they say you should have is a first aid kit. I'll be honest, I don't have one of those yet. You know, I might see a good reason to have it later on, but as the moment I don't, you know. And you can make your own first aid kit. You don't have to buy one of those expensive ones. You know, just look up what should go into it, put it in like a little container or a little baggie, you know. So the next thing is blanket, and they say you keep it in the luggage area. That's like the trunk or the back of the car. I would suggest having at least two. And I would use those blankets that are older, like you probably would throw them out because they don't look as nice anymore, but they're still functional. And there's, you know, a couple reasons for that. One, you're not going to miss it. And two, there may be a situation where you have to let a stranger have that blanket. And it's not that big of a loss because it's a blanket that, you know, is a little older anyway. And I've actually had that situation before where I was basically the first on a scene of a situation, and I pulled my blanket out to help comfort an elderly gentleman. Well, fortunately, with my situation, there was no body fluids involved, no blood, nothing like that. But you know, that's why you want an older blanket. So if somebody is bleeding and there's blood on the blanket, you can just say, okay, you can just keep it, you know, no problem. The next thing is drinking water and snacks. And so they say keep some in the glove compartment, the rest in the luggage area. Non-perishable food items like breakfast bars or beef jerky. I would even say like baby food. Did I spell that right? No. I'm going to put that in there. Baby food. Is it one word or two? Okay, it's saying it's correct. All right, so I'm going to save that. Now it's saying it's like this. Bam. Baby food. And there should be a comma. Okay, grammar's not correct. But there we go. Baby food. I'm going to show you what kind I mean. All right, so this is the kind of baby food I mean. You want to get something that you know you're going to eat. I think, well, two of these I would. I don't know about that pear, spinach, and pea. But the pear, carrot, and blueberry, and the bananas and pumpkin I would definitely go for. But, you know, you keep these in your car. You know, you don't have to have a lot, just enough to get you through, you know, a few hours. Another thing I like, I'm going to show you in a second. All right, I like these Belvita breakfast. I call them bars, but they're more kind of like a cracker. But the thing is, like they say, it's 4 hours of steady energy, and they really do keep you full. And so that's one thing I like to have. And like if I know I'm going to be going out for the day, and I know I'm going to be out for, you know, 8 hours or more, I do get the baby food and a couple packs of these in my purse, you know, but you can keep them in the trunk. All right. And like I said, it's something that's going to sustain you while you're waiting. All right. So, you know, so we got our food. They also say beef jerky. You know, if you're a meat eater, which I am, but I don't always need meat. You can do beef jerky or what's those Slim Jims? I like Slim Jims. But also, they say you should have a flashlight with extra batteries. But I do wonder, will the batteries survive being in the cold? You know, sitting in the trunk where it's exposed to extreme temperatures. Is that a good idea for batteries is what I wonder. So if anybody's an expert, you can, you know, touch base on that. But I'm thinking maybe a flashlight that cranks. So here's one that cranks, you know. Do they last? I don't know, but you do want a flashlight outside your cell phone for obvious reasons because you don't want your cell phone to run down when that is your lifeline. So you definitely don't want to use your flashlight on your cell phone. So this is a good idea to have right here. And, that way you can kind of leave it on so that there's light inside of the car and that might attract people. All right, next on the list, rags, paper towels, or pre-moistened wipes. So, I always think of wet ones. I like keeping like little packs of wet ones in my purse personally, but it is a good idea to keep some in the trunk, especially if you have kids. All right. And also that'll help like, if you're going to eat, you can always wipe your hands with those wipes, or if you have to go to the bathroom. I think you can kind of figure it out, maybe use a empty bottle or something, because, it could be, over 4 hours that you get help. Because I've heard of people in the Midwest being trapped on the highways for a few days. So, yeah, so it's important that you are prepared. All right, it also says having basic set of tools along with duct tape and car emergency warning devices such as road flares or reflectors. All right, so that way, that's another way of getting attention to your car. I remember back in the day when all the cars had the radio antenna, you were supposed to tie a red rag on that antenna, and because, that antenna was probably a good 10 feet off the ground. So if the snow got deep, they could still see the flag and know that somebody's in that car. Because that's another thing that goes on. Like if, your car breaks down, you pull over, they don't know if that car has somebody in it or not. All right. So one thing you might want to do is, put a red rag in the window, and that way people will know somebody's there. All right. So ice scraper and snow brush, that's another important tool. In the summer, I keep that in the trunk, but in the winter, I bring it to the cab of the car. That way, if there's snow on top of the car, I don't have to clear that off my trunk before getting my ice scraper. All right, they also suggest jumper cables in a jump pack. Although I do have a problem with allowing people to jump off my car because I've been told by a couple of reliable sources, people that have been mechanics for decades have told me with the newer cars it's not such a good idea. So it's better to call like, a tow truck or AAA, someone that can, professional that can jump your car. So that way you're not risking messing someone else's car up or messing your own car up, because once you get those electrical issues, that's going to cost some money. All right, so traction aid such as sand, salt, or non-clumping kitty litter. All right, that's in case you hit an icy spot and you can't move. All right, I've had that situation before where our car has been stuck in the mud. Oh, that was a bad feeling. Like, I want to get home, and we got to get the car out before we can get home. We get muddy and dirty. But it happens, especially if you're in the, the countryside like we are. All right, so it also says have a tarp, a raincoat, and gloves. I would also offer boots there as well, and I'll tell you about that a little later. But a tarp is a good idea because what if your window gets knocked out? That way it'll help shield you from the elements. And then they have, for their last part of the list, is a shovel. And a shovel is a good idea because you want to keep your tailpipe clear and try to keep your door clear as well. All right. All right, so I have my own list. And so when they were talking about having the raincoat, gloves, and woo-woo-woo, I also say keep a pair of boots or sensible walking shoes and socks in your trunk there, because if you're like me, you like to wear your cute little shoes, But if you're in a situation where you may have to get out and walk, you don't want to walk long distances in cute shoes, so you have those boots there to help you. All right, another on my list is having tea light candles and matches. And, not the LED candles. I'm talking about the actual candles with wicks that have fire. And I read this years ago in a magazine or an article that you should keep them in your car in the wintertime. So if you get stuck and your engine won't start, or maybe you can't keep that tailpipe clear, you can have the tea candles, light them, and then they will create heat. And this really works. I actually have tried this before just to see if it does work. And one thing I want to say is use caution when you do this, because you don't want to be in a situation where you catch the interior of your car on fire and now you're in even more trouble. So, make sure you watch that. And then I also encourage you to keep your gas tank full, or at the minimum half full, because, and like the next paragraph will tell you, you don't want to run out of gas. You want to avoid that. For heat, AAA recommends running the car for about 10 minutes every hour, but keeping it off the rest of the time to avoid running out of gas. Make sure the exhaust pipe is clear of snow and ice when the car is running to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. So yeah, you definitely want to avoid that. So, I want to go back to the list, or back to the list, but back to the video. So, they released a video, the sister released the video, and she was explaining, how her car got stuck because that snow was getting deep and deep fast. All right. And sadly, she couldn't get help. And so it's showing the snow, like, look how blinding that snowstorm is. There is a van across the way. I don't know if anybody's in that van or not. But look, that picture, it was halfway up. The snow was halfway up along the door. Look at that, how deep that snow was. But yeah, they found her. Sadly, it was too late by the time they found her. Andale Taylor. This is the car they found her in. Look how deep that snow got. And another thing, her windows are dark, and I'm in no way, and I don't want anyone to get this confused, I am not victim blaming, because as bad as that weather was, all my tips and tricks may not have made a difference, because this weather was really bad. There's just, there's no way. Whew. It's just heartbreaking, y'all. But there's no way I would ever blame somebody for, for this, falling victim to something like this. But, I just want to keep you safe and, help myself stay safe as well by making sure that you are prepared for the winter, because, even a few extra minutes can be the difference between life and death. So, make sure to stay safe out there, y'all. And I will have the GoFundMe for Andale Taylor's family in the description box below. And we'll keep these people in our prayers, because, this is just tragic. This beautiful young woman, and she was a nurse in the medical profession where, she's trying to preserve life, and then she's not able to get someone to help her, so, let's be safe out there, y'all. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.